It's as if acknowledging our singleness is jinxing us to be single for the rest of our lives. It's going to become this self-fulfilling prophecy. And heaven forbid, we're single for the rest of our lives. Where's some wood? Knock on wood, right? Welcome to Elevate with Emily. In this series, we're going to discuss the challenges and stigmas of being single, dating dynamics and struggles, and things I wish I could go back and tell my younger single self. As I listen to the new podcast, Soloists, by Mallory Everton and Diana Brown, and as I talk to my fellow young single adults at church, I recognize there is a huge need to talk about this subject. Who better to tackle this topic than a marriage and family therapist who is also single, right? I have brainstormed over 18 video topics on this subject, so make sure to subscribe and stay along for the journey. As we start this series, I want to acknowledge and address the fear behind talking about singleness. That is one of the number one reasons why it has taken me so long to muster up my courage to do a series like this. Because one, it is such a vulnerable topic. I will be getting very vulnerable with you about some of my personal struggles and experiences. But two, there's this thing about fear where we avoid something because we're afraid that if we explore it, if we dive into it, then somehow it's going to jinx us. Somehow it's as if we're giving it permission to happen and it's going to become this self-fulfilling prophecy. And heaven forbid, we're single for the rest of our lives, right? We're some wood, knock on wood, right? Ironically, it is by leaning into that fear, by exploring it with curiosity, and by accepting that peace, that we can then find peace. And for that reason, I am so excited and nervous to dive into this topic with you. As I start off this series about singleness, I want to first acknowledge my own journey and background. I have spent years studying about relationships, about marriage, attachment, and as I've been pursuing these things in my education, in my training, and in my experience as a therapist, all along the way, I have been single, and I have had to face the loneliness and the self-judgment and all of the stigmas that come along with it. For years, I'm studying about this topic that seemed out of reach for me. You can bet that there were times as I first started off practicing where I thought to myself, who am I to counsel these married couples when I'm single? Or who am I to help these parents when I have no children of my own? And so I've had to gain a lot of confidence that what I'm doing works, even if I'm not doing it myself. And so I've had to work through that so that I don't feel like the biggest hypocrite ever. But needless to say, it is no wonder that I have struggled with imposter syndrome for so long. The world is built in such a way that singleness is worn as a label that you are judged for, whether by others or by yourself. We can be hyper aware that we don't fit the mold in the narratives around us, whether that's in movies and TV shows, social media, or other family members around us. And it really can make us feel less than. I cannot tell you how many times I've asked myself in the last 8 to 10 years, what is wrong with me? And I share that with you from a very vulnerable place because I know I'm not alone. As these conversations are becoming more common through the Soloist podcast, through my conversations with other single adults, I have realized that so many people who struggle with relationships and with dating feel the exact same way. We all feel so lonely, ashamed, and unable to really talk about these things because we really feel like we're broken, like there's something wrong with us. When in fact, 50% of the population in the church is single. And so why is there so much shame around this topic? Why do we put ourselves down for a circumstance that's outside of our control? The most freeing thing that I have learned in recent years is that no level of happiness or joy will be withheld from me. I will not miss out on any experience because of something outside of my control. I really believe that God wants to bless all of his children in all of their circumstances. As you give your life over to God and as you accept where you're at, then you have the room to explore and to find a higher level of joy and fulfillment than you could have ever imagined. Even if it doesn't look like what you thought or what you expected. I haven't given up on relationships. Trust me, I would not be a marriage and family therapist, a relationship therapist, if I wasn't so passionate about it. Even knowing these things, I still get caught up in the negative messaging around singleness. For example, I can still find myself thinking or believing that my life doesn't start until I'm married, that I'm just in limbo, or that my life is lacking a level of fulfillment because I'm not married and starting my own family. But these topics are simply not true. And I am learning day by day just how rich and fulfilling my life can be as I confront these negative, unhealthy, toxic messages. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do with me, to join me on this journey, to discuss some of these toxic, unhealthy, limiting mindsets that are so prevalent in the world today, to be able to find some validation in our singleness journey and prepare together for a future that we can find fulfilling and meaningful. Let's explore more of these in the next episode, especially this idea that your life doesn't start until you're married. Thank you for joining me in today's episode, and please join this conversation by commenting below or by shooting me an email, which is in the description box below. I look forward to our next episode together.